for an entrepreneur to be successful is actually perseverance and obstacle management. If perseverance was a muscle, right, it helps you build that muscle.
So your previous boss believed in your performance, so he followed you from the US to India. And when you started a new baby of Rock Paper Rum, he made sure that he's a part of your growth team.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I would say three of my ex-bosses are all investors in the business. So clearly, that's something. It's a very notorious, industry to be, and especially for smaller companies that can get taken advantage of.
If Rock Paper Rum were a personality at a party, who is it?
Think Ranveer Singh.
So inspiring conversations is interesting when you come across people who have done a lot of different things in life and people who live with a difference. And one such young entrepreneur that we have on our Zero to Infinite podcast today is a very interesting young personality, Lalit Kalani. And in spite of being a third generation entrepreneur, he's doing something dramatically different. So history for him is interesting, being a third generation entrepreneur, but he's carved his own path and he's enjoying doing it. He's loving doing it. He's growing it every single day. He's built his own brand, different from what historically came to him as legacy. So today's podcast is all about legacy, but legacy not impacting what you innovate and what you newly create. It's a different journey that he's traveling. Being from Wharton, a business school, Wharton, he has really made a lot of new decisions in his life, and we are going to explore that in today's inspiring conversation of Zero to Infinite. Very interesting. I'm looking forward to how he is going to be sharing his insights. Apart from the experience that he has got in the liquor business, it's a third generation liquor business. He's also got exposure to various distilleries across the world. He has been in the foods segment. He's into sustainable packaging. He's also into tech-led sales. So variety of experience we will explore along the way. So Lalit, welcome.
Thanks, AR.
And I'm a first generation entrepreneur. So I don't know about legacy business. I don't know about history of the business that's been there. I learned it along the way. I'm sure you have got a different experience. To begin with, I would like to mention that your journey has been interestingly different. In fact, you come from a three generation background in the liquor industry. So did that feel like an advantage or was it some kind of a pressure? How would you like to relate to that?
Sure. So I think having a legacy can definitely, it really depends from person to person, right? So I think I definitely use it as an advantage. Just for background, I didn't always start in liquor. In fact, my family had been in the business for almost 50 years. But then around 15 years ago, they sold the entire business and have been retired, right? So getting into liquor was a little bit post-legacy, but that legacy is what has helped me build the brand that we are building today, right? So it's definitely an advantage, but it didn't always start with Rock Paper Rum or the liquor business. That was never the goal. I think it just sort of fell into place because of the family background.
So that's fantastic. And you're wearing it on your heart, Rock, Paper and Rum. And if you see, the logo is so clear, so simple to read. And I love the color combination that you have created, the Rock, Paper and Rum. Very interesting. Now, because you grew up around an industry for so long, instincts from very early, they will definitely form. It becomes a subconscious mind since you're from that industry. Was there a moment when you realized your instincts were different from the way the previous generations thought about liquor? How did you shape it up, or how did you reshape it?
So it's definitely different. I think my dad and granddad came from a generation where, I think the value of brands was less than what it is today, right? I think that time it was more about volume and as they say, number of cases sold and amount of cash gotten for the cases sold, right? So it was a very simple calculation for them. Today, it's all about how to build the brand to make it something more sustainable and for the long term, right? So I think it had to be thought through very differently. I think even today versus 20 years ago, The industry is very, very different. The dynamics, the players are very different, and there are a lot of people with a lot of resources, right? So, and when I say resources, a lot of money to throw at, to get things done and to move product around. So I think, not having all those resources, I think we had to do something different. Otherwise, as I say, like if we play the same game that everyone's playing, we're going to lose, right? Because there are people that are much bigger and more powerful than us. So I think to be something really different, we had to really invest in sort of why we're doing what we're doing, build the brand, understand that, and really invest in the brand upfront. And then, of course, the fruits will pay out, over time.
So, what was that exact moment when you decided that rock, paper, rum is a not negotiable decision of your life? What was that moment?
So I think it happened maybe 1 year into Rock Paper Rum, right? So I think the brand and the business just sort of came about. It started off as just brainstorming session with some friends to trying to figure out, yes, this could be something very interesting and industry, how to do it. And then of course Rock Paper Rum was sort of born from those discussions. And I think for me, it's soon within a year of launching Rock Paper Rum, realized that, okay, we might actually be onto something. There is a lot of love for it. We've created a brand that people resonate with, a story that people resonate with. And I think about a year in, when, I think when I was starting the business, I think my dad wasn't at, he just exited the entire liquor industry, right? So he was a little shocked that I want to re-enter it. Everyone knows the difficulties and the capital requirements for an alcohol business. So he was surprised and wasn't as supportive initially. But I think there was a time where, a year in, he was really proud of what we had built just within a year. That I think that's when it became a non-negotiable that, this is some way to carry on the family legacy, even after he sold everything. So I think that became, we got to make something big out of what we started as a small fun project.
Oh, excellent. And brand building is quite a responsibility, especially in a cluttered market. Liquor also, like every other industry or every other segment and sector.
Yep.
Branding, brand building, creating a differentiator, making yourself look visible differently is a huge responsibility. So how do you manage that? How did you pre-calculate it, and how are you living that journey now?
So I think, this is something actually one of my investors, early investors / mentors, had asked me when we were initially talking about the idea of Rock Paper Rum, and he taught me this concept of calling it a pre-mortem. So usually you have a post-mortem after something else. So he said, why don't we do a pre-mortem exercise of 3-5 years from now, if Rock Paper Rum were not to work out, what do you think the reasons would be that it didn't work out? And from that conversation, it came out that, if we don't build a strong brand, we might get distribution, we might figure out the marketing, we might get placement on shelves. All that is great. But if, 5 years down the line, people don't find that love for the brand, this won't work out. And I think through that conversation, this whole idea of, invest in the brand up front, try and preempt those, things that, that you want to invest in and build now. And so that thinking started very early on. And I think that's what helped sort of solidify, that upfront investment and thinking about brand building.
So isn't it a smart decision to have an investor who's also an advisor or a mentor on board, so that more than apart from money and along with money, you get the right piece of advice and the right direction to travel in?
Yeah, of course.
And was it by design that you had an investor who was a mentor as well, or was it accidental?
So he was actually one of my ex bosses from one of the companies I worked with in the US, and he's someone I've always looked up to. So I think the people who we want to always work with, I think there's always something where it takes a village to build something. You want to surround yourselves with the people who can help guide you, and of course money is required, etc. But it's it definitely helps building that village as you go around to help make it big, right? So it's certainly an asset.
So you're a believer of a strategic investor, not a pure investor.
100%. I mean, I think there's a place for both, but certainly, strategic investors have a very important role to play.
They give you money and growth or ideas to grow.
Yeah.
Or the resources to grow further other than money.
All of it, right? I think network, I think, obviously connections, ideas, experience. Yes. All of it. Yes. Yep.
Fantastic. So your previous boss believed in your performance. So he followed you from the US to India. And when you started a new baby of Rock Paper Rum, he made sure that he's a part of your growth team.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I would say three of my ex-bosses are all investors in the business. So clearly there's something.
So that speaks volumes of what you can achieve.
Yeah. I hope so.
Let me know when is your next round of investments.
Great. No, thank you.
So what's one decision you have made with Rock Paper Rum that would have never been made in the previous generation? What is that?
So I would go back to investing in the brand upfront, right? So we were at one point ready to launch the product. The branding was done, the label registrations, everything was ready to go. And it was after that sort of conversation where we realized, we get to launch only one time, and maybe our branding, our story is not up to the mark. So we actually went back to the drawing board, delayed the launch of the brand by almost 9 months. But we went back and actually invested and worked with a really great, design partner to help redesign the brand, the story, the labels, and put all of that together before we went ahead, right? So I think that decision was, and I think that was something that I think the previous generation would not have thought through. Products ready to go, your launch strategy is done. Let's go, right? Why go back, spend some more money on branding, delaying a launch? I would say all those are different things that were done differently. Yeah,
and it's a different ballgame altogether when you're launching your own brand and your own line of action in the product line that your generations are used to. Liquor as a commodity they were used to, but you ventured forward to create your own brand.
Yes, so that's different from.
Did anybody do that in the previous two generations? Were they dealing with existing brands, or had they created brands?
They had created brands, I think. But for them, I think it fell. I don't think it was a thought through process. I think it just happened. It all started with a commodity and getting things going, and then brands were built based off the sales there, right? So, but I don't think that much thought and effort was put behind the brand building. I think it was more getting sales, and then over time a brand got built because the product was good and the distribution was great.
So that was natural creation of a brand.
Yes.
Whereas with you, it's consistent, calculated, continuous efforts which is making that happen.
Yeah, and I also think times have changed, right? I think that time there were various opportunities for distribution and finding those gaps and pure sales. Today that's rare, right? The market is much more cluttered than it was 20 years ago.
Wow, fantastic. So do you think that legacy today is something you inherit or something that you earn with every generation, since you're the third generation in this business?
So I definitely think you inherit it, but I think how it's built and passed forward, and how you sort of take what you have and sort of build on it even more, right? And lucky for me, I have a good legacy in terms of at least name that even people respect today. Even though my family is no more in the business, they still, the industry folks still recognize that, and I use that. So
there is a leverage.
I'm very thankful for that, right? At least I get that first meeting.
Yeah. It's a good leverage to have.
Yes, 100%.
It's a door opener.
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
Excellent. And that benefits definitely in the business.
Yeah.
Because they already know the background and the track record.
Yeah.
And their past experiences might help them to take new decisions with you.
It does. I would say, although we haven't worked with any of our old partners, who were in the business, and the business is very different. But that being said, at least it got reference points and meetings, right? And then, of course, people take their own decisions.
So you studied at Wharton. Yes. And how did that change the way you look at business in India? I'm sure that's one strong reason why we've got 3 bosses as investors on your board.
Sure.
But how did it change your way you look in India?
Studying abroad, I would say in general, and of course, Wharton being a great place to make great connections, I think it gave a little bit more of a global outlook of how things are done, abroad. Brands are made abroad, and then when I moved back to India 5-6 years ago now in 2020, I'd actually not come back with the intent of starting a business here, or building a brand, right? I think it sort of just came out naturally again. But that experience abroad and, just those learnings, those conversations, etc., help with, thinking and doing things differently here as well, right? So of course, doing business in India is very, very different and has different, you need different skill sets, etc. But of course, that can be, in tune with what you learn abroad, and it helps you think outside the box.
Actually, many founders that I know, when they come from an international exposure and when they come down to India, they struggle on multiple aspects because systems and processes and people and permissions and compliances and all this is very new to them,
Right.
And they struggle, and it becomes very difficult for them to adapt to the local environment.
Right.
So how did you manage that gap or those kind of obstacles or those kind of hiccups? How did you adjust and adapt to the local markets or the local environment of doing business in India?
I think it's just part of being flexible and trying to learn the local culture and the way things are done here. I would say it also takes a lot of patience. I have to say there were times where things were very frustrating. I mean, I think the amount of follow-ups things require here in India, compared to other parts of the world, are very different. So I think it just required patience and learning to figure out how things do work here, and also having, points that are non-negotiable for you, as someone trying to figure out, what's non-negotiable and what you can sort of, be okay with, as well. So I think it's part of having that flexibility to do it, right? And I think if something is helping you achieve your broader vision, I think you can give it that patience and time, right? So I think it's just part, and mistakes will be made. It's not, there are times where you feel like, okay, I could have done this better, and you just, you keep improving.
So I think when you are a part of an ecosystem in a developing country, obstacle management is one of the business models, because not everybody has the wherewithal to overcome those kind of challenges. So
Right.
I feel that for an entrepreneur, especially in this part of the world, the better you manage the challenges, the bigger entrepreneur that you become.
Right.
So I don't consider it as a disadvantage. I consider it as an advantage to ensure that you are going to be far more faster successful than anybody else would do. So you need to adapt to that local situations. And I think India is a great platform to do that, compared to a developed country. When these hurdles become a part of your line of action on managing those hurdles,
Right.
I think the business opportunity is much bigger and much gretter.
Yeah.
Do you agree to that fact? You have been doing that for the last 6 years.
Yeah. So I would say, I think one of the biggest things, as you mentioned, just putting a word to it, for an entrepreneur to be successful is actually perseverance, and obstacle management helps you sort of, if perseverance was a muscle, right, it helps you build that muscle, because I think being an entrepreneur is like being a punching bag. People, I mean, you're going to get punched day in and day out, by different things, and it's just about, just moving along and taking a punch and getting going with it, right? I think you just have to get used to that.
It's all about uncertainty management.
Yeah, I definitely have to be comfortable with uncertainty, right? I think in my first business, this was like 15 years ago, was definitely much younger, and things affected me, was much more emotional about things, and of course that drains your energy, right? I think now, having gone through a whole bunch of life experiences, business experiences, it just happened to be, you just know how to take things and, still stay calm and composed and, accept it.
So do you still enjoy surprise management? Because here in entrepreneurship, every day is a new surprise. So have you started enjoying surprise management?
I definitely say there's never a dull day. So I think, there's some surprises that are good, then there'll be many that are not so great. So am I enjoying it? Yes, that's what keeps you going. But I think it's also, I've taught myself to just remain, I would say, like within a band of emotion and reaction to things, right? So you're just sort of going along versus like reacting to things. So I think it's more reaction management than
surprise management.
Yeah.
So how important is structured thinking when building a consumer brand like Lika?
So I think it requires both structured and unstructured, right? I think uh, a brand in liquor coming, if I were a very, very large business, I think, or one of the large companies launching a new brand, I would say there would be a lot more structure behind the thinking, because there are a lot more resources that are at my disposal to do that. I think starting a new brand as an income, as someone who's, just trying to make a name in the space, or a new brand, amongst very, very large players, I think it requires a lot of unstructured thinking within sort of that framework, right? Where you can start thinking differently, out of the box, like what's going to, how you can connect with consumers, because you can't just put hoardings everywhere, or danglers, or whatever that might be, right? So I think it does require that, but I think unstructured thinking, even within some form of framework or structure, is important, right?
How challenging was it for you to set systems and processes in place?
So I think it's relatively easy, but I think that comes having worked in both large companies as well, as a manager there, as well as having done my own business before. So I've seen how things work at large companies, and also how things work at a small startup within the US. So I think taking all those experiences and putting it here has been, I would say, relatively straightforward, but that just comes from experience, right?
So as a founder, as a startup founder, every startup founder initially has to be an HR manager.
Yes.
So it's to build a culture, a format of working, to ensure that systems and processes are fallen in line, and ensuring that it does not go off the track all the time. So how do you do that in your organization with your team? Your execution capabilities depend on your team that is there in the system. So how do you do that? The culture management.
So I would say you're right. I think as a founder, as a CEO, I would say the two most important jobs for me is, one is hiring the right people, and building the right team, and that is a decision I'm part of. Regardless of who we are hiring, I have a point of view on that. And then the second most important thing is making sure we have the resources to give that team to do what they do best, right? So it's not about micromanaging or getting into their work, but really, if we need funds, if they need team members, it's my job to go get them that, and that's why I got them here. When it comes to culture setting, I do believe in, it's showing by doing, and I think every phase of a startup has different requirements, right? I think in the initial years is a lot about, grit and hustle, and if, to get that, and really being able to get your hands dirty and do whatever it takes to get things off the ground, right? And I think if you can, I think the first few years for us have been, and still are, just getting our hands dirty, and there's no work that's too big or too small for me to do, right? If that's what's needed, you get it done. And I think that's the culture we're set right now. Of course, as the organization gets bigger, and different systems and processes come into place, right? So I think we'll get to that point when it is, but right now the culture is more just hustle, grit, and just do what it takes to get the job done.
For especially for startups, people are very important, and we definitely all the time need to have people smarter than us working with us, working for us, and working along us. The process is simple. You first recruit them, then you train them,
Sure,
then you retain them,
right,
then you retrain them.
Yep.
So are you involved in that process? Do you lead from the front, or you have professionals doing it on your behalf?
So I would say we're still at a stage where I'm very much involved. We're not so big where we get professionals to do that. I've also had experience within doing that for larger companies. So having been a consultant myself at some point, so it's so I've done it for other companies, can do it for my own. So right now it's more about leading from the front and doing that.
So you're the best HR head for your organization, because you really need to identify the right people.
Yeah, it's all at people at the early stage can make or break your company, right? Because they are who representing you, they are your brand, they are your face, and they have multiple hats to wear initially. So yes, absolutely.
So do you believe in training modules and ensuring that there is a disciplined format of regular and routine trainings that keep happening all the time?
I think at the stage we're at, maybe it's not. It's. I think it's too formal a way for the stage we're at. But what I do encourage people to do on our team is, at this stage, is to, when I say go for trainings, it's actually less formal trainings, but by that I actually mean go out and talk to people, network, you learn from them within the industry, right? So even if it's an event that we are not throwing or we're not part of, just go attend, network, right? So encouraging people to take that time to go out and learn something new or learn from other people. So it might not be a formal routine, formal training that happens, or a module, but but that's just a stage where we're at, right? Where we are a small team and we can get people to go out and learn, by, just going. But retraining and learning is very important.
So you believe in huddle meetings where short spurts of coming together, conversing, discussing about a situation, about an opportunity, and then going ahead with the team to achieve that?
So funny enough, I do, but I don't overdo it. I have a huddle meeting daily with my team,
The top management.
the top management of the team, on a daily basis. In fact, and then of course weekly with the entire team. Again, our team is not that large, so it's not, but definitely a daily huddle meeting. And there are days where that meeting can last 10 minutes and we just get on, and there are days where that can go on for an hour as well. So it really depends on what the need of that day is. But I think it's very important just to huddle quickly before you get your day started and just make sure everyone's on the same page.
So, Lalit, I'm very inquisitive about why rum, why rock, paper, rum? Because India is all the time trending for whiskey or for gin.
Right.
So, why rum?
Sure. So rum in India is the second largest market after whiskey, actually. So whiskey is the largest. There's no doubt India is a whiskey drinking nation. We keep hearing about categories like gin and tequila, and at the time we were launching, when we were thinking of what to do, gin definitely came across the table. But we realized that gin in India is a really, really small category. Yes, it's growing, but rum may be almost double digit times the size of gin in the market, right? So it's almost 50 times the size of that market. So rum, India is a rum drinking nation. I think it's just not been given, it's not had its sort of coming like gin has. But I do feel it's one of the categories that will premiumize over the next 3 to 5 years, and that's we want to be on that wave that's going to ride next and be ready for when that happens. Rum also is something that has been within the family. I think when my grandfather started in the liquor industry, he was actually one of the distributors for Old Monk in Maharashtra.
That's the most popular, well-heard name.
Yeah, so definitely a place where it started from rum. That, granted, that wasn't the reason why I did it, but of course there's a lot of rum as a category does flow within the blood.
So what is the gap that you saw in the liquor market, and how did you plan to fill it up? What is the gap that you identified, you studied, you strategized, and then you launched this particular brand?
Sure. So again, as I said, so whiskey, very, very large, but very, very competitive at every single price point. Gin, very small market, and also already crowded and a lot of players. Rum, very large market in India. And what we saw was a big segment of that market is actually very low priced rums. And we've seen premiumization happen across all the other categories. And in rum, what we saw is you have really low cost rums, and then you had imported very expensive rums, right? So in India, what we saw is that mass premium or mid premium category, let's say someone who started with Old Monk in college, or any other rum, where do you go if you want to continue within rum? Where do you go after that, right? Of course, in whiskey, you have every 50, 100 rupees, you have a brand, new brand there for you to try. But in rum, we didn't see that. So I think that's where we saw the opportunity and the growth.
Fantastic, fantastic. So rock, paper, rum, that feels very intentional. The name, the identity, the positioning. What came first, the liquid or the brand story?
So I think it all went hand in hand. I think it both took a year to come. I think it started with the liquid, but then as we started getting the liquid going, we saw the name came up as well. So Rock Paper Rum, and then of course, as I said, right, the brand story really sort of came together when we were getting ready to launch, right? So Rock Paper Rum, based on the game Rock Paper Scissors. It's a game about taking a chance, and that's what we thought resonates with what New India is all about, which is taking a chance.
So in a category which is driven by distribution and regulation, how do you build the differentiation? There is a heavy regulation in this particular business category.
Right. So I think the differentiation comes in the brand and the product and getting, just having people resonate with that and picking it up. Also the packaging, right? Initially to get people to try the product. I think regulation is, if one can figure out regulation and get, how it works and how to launch products in different markets, I think it eventually becomes a moat for you, and not against larger companies, but definitely against the other startups in the space, right? So I think in our first year we were just in, call it, Maharashtra as a state, because we figured that out, but within a year we were able to launch in 10 states, right, across India. And that, for a very young brand, small brand, getting that kind of scale or exposure really helped us sort of get awareness across the country, right? Not just in one or two states. So we definitely, once we figured out how we can start doing that, we did it quickly, and it sort of helped create a moat for us, for a lot of other startup brands as well. So I think it's how you help with, it's how you use that as an asset, right? It's, the regulation is there for everyone within the industry. I think distribution, it's definitely required. I think offline distribution is, there's no online sales of alcohol, so it is all offline, it is all in person. And I think part of it is just going out there, being on the ground, talking to the distributors, and finding the right partners in different various parts of the country and doing that.
So personally, I love businesses which have got a very stiff and a very tight regulation mode, because it creates a level playing field for everybody in that game of business, and I love it that way. So do you also have a preference for heavily regulated business models, although you are into one?
So I do and I don't. I do feel sometimes if there was less regulation, newer brands would have more of a chance in the liquor industry. I think
Better competition?
Yeah, I think the liquor industry is run by, has very, very large companies, and I think the regulation is, because of such heavy regulation, they get protected, where you don't see a lot of new brands from smaller companies, innovative companies keep launching, right, or surviving. And I think part of that is regulation. So you have to really be large to be able to survive all that regulation. And I think it actually in liquor sort of hurts having over regulation for new brands to come. We've seen that in FMCG, and you see a new food brand and a new detergent brand or whatever that might be. It's very easy to get started and get launched, right? And you can see how industries can be disrupted much quicker. Whereas in liquor, once you're already big, it's very hard to get disrupted from there.
But is it because it is indulgence and not a necessity? Is that the reason why there are so many regulations?
I think it's part indulgence, but I also think it's there's a lot. It's also a very heavily taxed product, and
I guess that's because it is an indulgence.
Yes, and it also it's a very large part of the revenue for the states, and given that it's so heavily taxed, there's a lot more chances of people taking advantage of that, right? And I think the regulation is required to keep an eye on how things do move across it, right? But I do think there are certain parts of it that can definitely be softened a bit.
So what does craft actually mean to you beyond just being a marketing language? What does it mean to you?
I think it's about the love that you put into a brand, or you put into a product, right? I think I think yes, it is it can be used as marketing jargon, but I think it comes up. It really means the love that's put into the product or the brand that you're trying to put out there.
And according to you, what is the hardest part of building a liquor brand that no one talks about?
That no one talks about. I think I was going to say regulation, but definitely everyone talks about that. I think no one talks about the players within the industry and across the chain, right? I think it's a very, very tough industry to crack. I think it's very small, and I think to find the right partners to work with within the industry it is difficult. So it's a very notorious industry to be, and especially for smaller companies that can get taken advantage of. So I think finding that right balance, those right partners, is very, very important.
It's all about communication. So I want to understand, how do you communicate to your distributors who carry your brand? And then how do you communicate to your end user, the consumer? Because he needs to go and ask the distributor for your brand. How do you create that brand visibility and brand communication?
So I think distributors are super, super important because they end up becoming your,
brand ambassadors.
Yeah, and logistics
They talk about you.
partners. They do put it out there, but at the end of the day, at least for new brands, right, they rely on you more to do the selling and the brand building, etc. Right. So I think at the end of the day, you're not only first you sell to the distributor to get distribution, then you go sell to the retailer to get on the shelf, and then last you're sort of going to the consumer, right? So I think one of the few things that we do now, which is different from, again, the legacy would have done before, is we actually start going to the consumer and the retailer at the same time, right? Because the retailers want to see that there's enough pull to put you on the shelf, versus before you would just give enough schemes to get on the shelf. So I think you sort of have to play, all going hand in hand at the same time, right?
And how do you work for your brand visibility in the public domain?
So I think a lot of it,
because again, you can't advertise
right,
a liquor brand. So how do you?
So we do a lot of small events, community events, etc. That where we feel that our target audience is going to be there and appreciate. We curate a lot of events, and again, we don't take part in a lot of large sponsored concerts, etc. Like some
you
of the
will
large,
not be able to afford it,
and we don't have the money to do that, right? So we've sort of,
your rum will get more expensive if you do that.
Yeah, we've been able to sort of partner with smaller events. For example, there's a travel company called the Jungle Takeover, right? They do small safaris across. They organize safaris across the thing. So we do small curated events with them because we know our target audience is going to go with them. So it's finding the right small partners and multiple of them to just keep it going.
So for an activity or for an industry or a sector or a segment which is restricted even for advertising,
right,
because that's a part of compliance and regulation.
Yep.
How do you do your guerrilla marketing? And how do you differentiate it from other players in the market who do some different kind of guerrilla marketing? Any smart idea that you can share?
So one of the things we did last year, so surrogate marketing is a big thing in alcohol.
A lot of them make
water, soda, music CDs, T-shirts. You've seen all of that, right? So I think one of the things we saw the year before was coffee as an industry was definitely growing. I think within the younger audience, Gen Z, millennials, coffee consumption was growing. So we actually launched, instead of water, soda, etc., we actually launched Rock Paper Coffee, which is an actual coffee brand.
And it's real good coffee.
It's real coffee from
Chikmagalur. Does it have a rum flavor to it?
No, but we do have a rum flavored coffee as well. So, so we have a coffee rum that we do, but we also launched Rock Paper Coffee, right? And that being something that's trending with our audience, we use that as a way to really get into various homes, right? Where we couldn't advertise rum, we advertised the coffee brand. We actually sold coffee on Amazon and online marketplaces. We were able to partner and showcase our coffee in various coffee expos as well as events. So I think it helped us get into places where your typical liquor brand or alcohol brand wouldn't go, but it's the same audience, right? So we were able to still tell our story through that.
So, Lalit, what is fascinating is like a child who doesn't pray, we motivate him to pray.
Okay.
But a man who doesn't drink, you can't motivate him to let him start drinking,
Yeah.
right? You can't. There is a restriction. There's a
Yeah.
compliance issue because, like I said, it is an industry of indulgence.
Yes.
How do you, communicate in this kind of a business model? Because that really, I'm a teetotaler. I don't drink.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, I'll never be able to, check on your product.
Sure.
But then how do you communicate? Isn't that a very peculiar situation? Although these industry people who are accustomed to consuming a particular drink continue without being motivated.
Right.
In fact, you have to regulate them that, you should reduce it.
Yes.
Isn't it funny to balance it in this industry, your communication?
It is, although our role currently, given that the rum as a category and the product we're selling is part of a large category that people already know how to consume and are consuming already. So we haven't had to go out and make new consumers and new
Existing ones are
enough to convert.
They just
right?
need to change the brand.
Yes. So we
so you keep yourself to that.
Yes.
Excellent. So how do you handle slow cycles, approvals, and long gestation periods without losing momentum? Because sometimes it really gets frustrating. So how do you balance that? How do you maintain sanity? Because numbers need to be rolling every single day, right? As an entrepreneur in businesses, your expenses are ongoing.
Right.
Your revenues keep fluctuating. So how do you handle that?
So I think knowing that you manage your, call it expenses or your costs, etc., knowing that things do take a long time, right? No matter if someone had to give me unlimited money, I don't think I would use unlimited money on day one, right? It's how you spread that out and how you think through, because it's going to take time, right? Regardless of me having all the money in the world, call it getting a approval for selling in a particular state will always take that amount of time. So that's not going to change because of having the resources, right? So I think managing those expenses, managing that, knowing that this is that. So it's something that we learned as well, right? Initially, when you're young and you started the business and you've launched, you just want to keep going, and you're ready to do anything for it, right? You soon realize that certain things are going to take time, especially in this industry. So you just manage your expectations around it, and more importantly, you also manage and communicate the expectations, with your partners, right? Whether that be investors, whether that be your employees, whether that whoever that might be. So everyone knows that what's happening, and if things are cyclical, why are they? And then, of course, over time, I think we find various ways to fill the gaps, right? So one of the things we've learned, even though it takes a lot of time here, we started focusing, let's say, on exports a while, right? So over time, again, when we have different sort of avenues and different channels of sales, that cyclicality and time will sort of smoothen out. But I think it's having the long-term vision in mind, and when things sometimes don't go your way, I think if you look at this as a 10, 15, 20-year journey, one miss or a few quarters here and there, a few months here and there, it's just a blip in the long, in that journey. So I think it's just about managing yourself and people around you.
What is your personal strength as a founder? Is it inventory management? Is it cash flow management? Is it sales management? What do you consider as your biggest strength? So where you're personally involved in one of these three segments.
So I'm personally involved in every part of the business right now. Yeah. So I would say
what do you enjoy? I'll rephrase.
Right.
What do you enjoy doing the most? Inventory management, cash flow management, or sales management?
I would say sales is probably it's just going out, getting to meet people, talking to them, etc. It's something that I've enjoyed. But I would say the biggest strength is probably being able to be the jack of all trades is a big strength.
Yeah, but you're in the best one, right? Sales management takes care of your cash flow, and which ultimately takes care of your inventory.
Yeah.
So it's as a founder, where do you spend most of your mental energy today? Product, people, or process?
I would call it cash flow management and fundraising.
Cash flow management and fundraising.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what you majorly focus on.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your biggest early mistake in Rock, Paper, and Rum?
So I wouldn't call it early mistake, but I would say one of the big learnings I've had, during the last 3 years while doing this is, and in fact, someone just told me this about 6 months ago, right? This industry requires you to have a lot of partners, and when you're trying to think about how to build the business and do things, someone once told me, like, focus on the who and not the what, right? Because building something over the next few years, many years, decades, whatever that might be, uh, you remember the people who you end up working with, and that's what makes it enjoyable versus what that becomes. Right now, that could be 1,000 crores, it could be $1 billion, whatever that journey is, etc. But you'll always, that journey will be enjoyable, or even if it doesn't work out, it's more enjoyable because of the people and the who it is, right? So it's definitely a learning I've had, is focusing more on what and where I could get the most value, etc., from it, and not the who in choosing partners. And I think that's one big learning that I've had, that I would definitely say it's who you build it with is more important.
How do you measure and manage the productivity of your team, your core team, the key team?
I think it all ends up.
Is it numbers driven? Is it activity driven? Is it milestones driven? How do you manage the productivity? Because anybody in our team has to be more productive than how he was yesterday.
Right.
I'm sure this will send a message to your existing team
Yeah.
as well. So how do you do that? How do you measure it and how do you manage it?
I think it's all about. So there's a saying, right? What gets measured gets managed. So everything has to be measurable, whatever that might be. Whether it's
and how do you
whether
make
it's
them realize?
activity.
How do you make them realize that this is what was supposed to be done and you're falling short of these many points?
I think if you're measuring things properly, continuously, consistently, I think people realize that themselves. I think it just requires a conversation on sort of bringing it up. But when things are constantly being managed and run, and you're seeing the numbers in front of you, and if they are the right numbers that you as a founder have set for the team, I think people realize that on their own, right? I don't think people are very self-aware these days, and I think a lot of people are very smart, and they figure that out.
So business is all about excellence of execution, and we need to be mindful about it. We need to be aware about it. As founders and as business owners, we are always aware about it. How do you make that aware to your teams?
I think it's again, as I said, right, at the stage wherein it's about leading by actually showing and doing. And when they see, at least at this stage, where they see you hustling and doing what's needed and on the ground, etc., I think it sort of vibrates through the organization, right? And I think that's one way of making sure that that happens.
And how has collaborations helped you for better execution?
So collaborations, again, it becomes the right partners, right? And it could be it could be distribution partners, it could be investors, it could be strategic partners. So I think eventually, as I said, it helps. You have to build a village around it, right? And I think we've had collaborations in all parts of the business, everything from sales to retail partnerships to distributor partnerships, investor partnerships, and not all have worked out. But again, it's about, and I think that's where the learning of choose the who and not the what comes from, right? So I think it's all part of learning and growing from it.
As an entrepreneur, what do you believe in? Growth by collaboration or growth by hiring?
I would say, again, it's a mix. I think a lot of I would say growth by collaboration is very, very necessary, but it also requires growth by hiring at times, right? So I think it's a mix of both. And
what would you prefer as an entrepreneur? What gives faster growth?
I think it's very situational. I don't think there's one right answer to this. I think both are.
As
both
an
are
entrepreneur,
important.
I'm a believer of growth by expansion and growth by for expansion, growth by collaboration, because you get the entire infrastructure of the collaborating partner, so your scale absolutely multiplies.
Right.
So I think distributors are collaborators to you, and I feel great vendor management can also, which is an external team,
Yeah.
Great vendor management also, which is nothing but collaboration,
Yep.
can give faster growth, is my belief system. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think our definitions of collaborations were different. Of course, you need collaborations, right? I think it helps. It helps you play in the right collaborations can help you play in a different universe size,
Absolutely.
right? Otherwise, you're playing within your own field, uh, and but that can come from multiple places, right? So, but I think the right collaborations can certainly, but the wrong ones
Catapult
can,
your, the wrong
catapult,
one
and
can
the
pull you
wrong
down.
can
Yeah,
pull you down completely, right? And I've
absolutely.
seen, in this last 3 years, I've seen both.
You have to build the right village.
Yes, yeah,
You have to build the
yeah,
right village.
yes.
So how do you see Indian consumers evolving when it comes to alcohol and premium experiences? India is a very interesting country. In
Right.
fact, we are in the threshold of absolute growth, the way the world is looking towards India. So in this current scenario and the near future to come, you have seen both the worlds.
Yep.
So in the near future to come, how do you see the Indian consumers evolving?
So I think they've evolved quite a bit from, before I left India 15, 20 years ago. I think people are appreciating the product that they want. I think it's not just about money anymore. I think people are looking for value, a lot more for value. I think people are actually valuing brands, product. So consumers are looking for something different, new. Their willingness to try new products is much higher than what it was 15, 20 years ago. So I think we're already on that path, and we see that change every day.
Our beliefs keep changing with our age. So at every age, the situation is different and our belief is different. So what is that one big belief that you must have had at the age of 25 that has completely changed as on date? I know it's not too long ago because you've not aged much.
No, thanks. That completely changed in the last.
One belief that must have changed in the last couple of years.
I would say I would say it's more about belief in myself, right? I would say when I started my sort of entrepreneurial journey, if you asked me the same question about, what do I enjoy doing the most, it would have probably been, call it supply chain and inventory management, etc. Right? I never thought of myself as someone who would go out, sell, and be someone front facing of the company. But I think that belief has completely changed after being a founder and an entrepreneur multiple times, that it's you are always selling, right? So it's you have to be the front face, etc. So, and the fact that I'm actually enjoying it, something that I thought I would never enjoy, is actually a big change from what I thought when I started my journey.
Fantastic, right? From a working environment to working for your own,
Yep.
on your own, and having teams. I'm sure a lot of beliefs would have dramatically changed
Sure.
than what it was in the past.
Yeah.
So, Lalit, how do you personally deal with uncertainty, especially in the capital heavy activity that you are into currently?
I think when times are uncertain, go back to the basics, right? And go back to thinking about what we're doing, why we're building it, and having a real honest conversation, right? So there are phases where things are uncertain whether the business will work out or not, and it could be as dramatic as that, or it could be as dramatic as whether we'll get a state approval or not, right? So I think it eventually just goes back to just go back to the basics and think like, are we building the right product? Do consumers like it? Is it just something that is this just a small blip that we're going to go through, or is it something larger that we have to think about? So I think it just goes back to staying calm and thinking through back to the basics.
Excellent. So what excites you more right now? Scaling Rock Paper Rum or deepening the craft?
Right now, scaling Rock Paper Rum. And I think it goes back to, I think we've over the last 3 years created a product and a brand that I think is resonating with the right audience. And I think
you're happy with the way things are happening.
I don't think I'll ever be happy. I think as an entrepreneur, you are always like looking for the next. But am I happy in general? Yes. Am I happy as the way things could have progressed differently or better? Sure.
Are you achieving the targets you have set in your mind, or are you missing them, or are you crossing them?
I think in some areas we miss and in some areas we are crossing, right? So I think it's just part of a balance.
You keep balancing it in your mind?
Yes.
Do you do a lot of introspection of how things are going in the business?
Yes.
Who's your best buddy to get into a conversation with related to your business growth and status?
Right now, my wife, who's also my co-founder in the business. So at least we can brainstorm and we have that support.
So you found her first or the business first?
Found her first.
Okay.
Great question.
What's next? What's next? Expansion, experimentation, or consolidation?
So I think, to your point earlier, we are on the verge of a very interesting collaboration. So I think our focus is on that right now.
So it is expansion at the moment.
Yes.
Expansion through collaboration.
Yes.
That's your current focus.
Yes.
Your sounding board is your wife.
Yes.
Is that over a drink or when you're sober?
So right, we recently had a baby. So she's not been drinking for the last call it year and a half.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. But so sober for her, but at least I'll have a drink when I brainstorm. Yeah.
Who named the brand?
So it came out of a fun evening with friends. So it was just a fun evening where we were brainstorming various different brands, and Rock Paper Rum came up as one of the brands, and I think it's just what stuck, right? So I think it was just I would name a fun evening is what.
It's a lovely name.
Thank you.
It's a very rhyming name, very soothing to converse or listen to. So Lalit, before we wrap up, let's do a interesting rapid fire round.
Sure.
And let's do a spirit check.
Yeah, I love the name spirit check. Yeah.
So neat or on the rocks?
On the rocks.
Okay. One word to describe Rock Paper Rum when it first launched.
Exciting.
One word to describe it today.
Slowly maturing.
Okay. A rule of the liquor business you secretly love to break. It should not be related to compliance, you'll get caught.
Yeah.
A rule of the liquor business you secretly love to break.
It's how to get the word out without spending a lot of money.
Okay. Rum that's too safe. Pass or pour?
Ooh, there's some good rums. Pour.
If Rock Paper Rum were a personality at a party, who is it?
Think Ranveer Singh.
Oh wow, he is. Doesn't need rum, I guess.
Yeah.
Biggest myth about building an alcohol brand, since you live the journey now. What is the biggest myth?
That the biggest myth is the regulations are very difficult to get by. I think it's all doable if you work within a certain framework
and with the right mindset.
Yes.
Okay. Long aging or fast decisions? What's harder?
Ooh. What's harder? Fast decisions.
That's harder?
Yeah.
One thing you'll never compromise on, no matter how strong the pressure is.
Integrity.
Finish this sentence. Great rum, like great business, is all about
cutting through the BS.
Okay. Rock, paper, or rum? Which one always wins in your life?
Being the rock.
Okay. If success had a flavor, what would yours taste like?
Coffee.
With rum or without rum?
Coffee rum.
So friends, this was a very interesting and a very inspiring conversation, Zero to Infinite. It's a interesting journey, not only about the business that we are discussing, but also the mindset of the entrepreneur who's into the conversation with us. And Lalit was extremely interesting and exciting for me. I'm doing a podcast on a liquor brand for the first time in my life, and it was really an eye-opener. I could not taste liquor ever, but I loved the experience of the mindset that he dwells upon. So Lalit, that was very interesting. And to everyone listening, this is a reminder that whether you start from zero or inherit a legacy, growth still demands courage. Lots of it, plenty of it, and every day you need courage. So this was a Zero to Infinite. It's a very interesting podcast that I'm enjoying as a part of my life journey. See you in the next episode. Thank you so much. I work with and for Konark Cancer Foundation. It's a foundation which takes care of cancer patients. If you know anyone suffering with cancer, then we at Konark Cancer Foundation can connect the person with the right resources and facilities to ensure that the right time, right treatment reaches the patient. Whether it is connecting the resources or providing resources to the cancer patient, we do it all. It also includes support for accommodation in the city of Mumbai. We are associated and connected and networked with the right resources, the right doctors, and the right hospitals. We can bring all of this on a table to you so that it is convenience for you. Whether it is guidance, whether it is medical support, or whether it is operating procedures, our team facilitates every activity required for the patient and the support required for the family. We also connect you to the right NGOs and donors to ensure that you also get financial support and aid to whatever extent possible to ensure that the treatment happens and the life is saved. If you know of anyone who is suffering with cancer, please connect with us. The details are mentioned in the content below. Konark Cancer Foundation is an NGO. It's a not-for-profit organization, and we have lots of volunteers which support this good deed. So get in touch with us and help us to save lives. You too can be a part of this movement. Konark Cancer Foundation. Thank you so much.